Right now on this planet, there is exactly one species of human? That feels obvious. It feels like it was always this way. It was not. As recently as 40,000 years ago, at least 3 separate human species walked the exact same ground. Neanderthals across Europe, Denisovans across Asia, and us. Then 2 of them disappeared, in almost exactly the same time frame. Shortly after we entered their territory. We have no crime scene. We have no confession. What we have is a pattern that repeats without exception across every continent. And the DNA of the species we erased still running inside our bodies like evidence we forgot to burn. It is 2010. A researcher at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology is holding a fragment of bone, barely the size of your pinky nail. It came from Denisova Cave in the Altai Mountains of Siberia, pulled from sediment 40,000 years old. The team runs the DNA, they expect Neanderthal, but the result comes back and the room goes quiet. The sequence matches nothing in the database. Not Neanderthal, not modern human, nothing previously cataloged. A completely separate human species that shared this planet with us, competed with us, and was so thoroughly removed from the earth that a child's finger bone is the only physical trace they left behind. We called them Denisovans, named after the cave. In that same cave, archaeologists also found a drilled and polished chlorite bracelet, 50,000 years old, sophisticated enough that researchers estimate it required a rotary drill to produce. Their entire skeletal record fits in the palm of one hand. Their technology apparently did not. Here is what the timeline shows. Modern humans entered Europe approximately 45,000 years ago. Neanderthals had already been there for 400,000 years. They hafted tools. They controlled fire. They buried their dead with objects placed beside them. And burying objects with the dead means they had concepts of loss, memory, and something after. Neanderthal skeletons show healed fractures, evidence of individuals kept alive for months after injuries that would have been fatal alone. They cared for each other. And within 5,000 years of our arrival, a geological blink, they were gone. But the pattern does not stop in Europe. Modern humans pushed into Southeast Asia, Homo florensis, a small-bodied human species that had lived on the island of Flores in Indonesia for hundreds of thousands of years, disappeared approximately 50,000 years ago. Same window. In the Philippines, Homo luzonensis, confirmed in 2019, from bone fragments in Callao Cave, vanishes from the record in the same broad period. The Denisovans across Central and East Asia, gone. Every human species that shared territory with us collapsed in the same time frame. Across multiple continents, with no shared environmental cause other than our arrival. Chris Stringer at the Natural History Museum in London has mapped these disappearances for decades. The pattern, he argues, is competitive replacement. We out-hunted them, took their prey, pushed into their ranges, until the populations fragmented below the threshold for recovery. No single massacre required, just pressure applied without stopping for thousands of years. The uncomfortable part is how clean it was. No record, no war crimes tribunal, just a fossil record with a gap where another kind of human used to be. But here is what that explanation cannot account for. If modern humans were so dominant, if the outcome was decided the moment we arrived, why does your DNA tell a completely different story? Pebo's team designed the analysis to measure genetic distance. How different were Neanderthals from us? In 2010, they published the results from 3 bone fragments pulled from Vindija Cave in Croatia, 40,000 years old. What the analysis found was not what they were looking for. Non-African modern humans carry between 1 and 4%. Neanderthal DNA, not a trace, not contamination. A consistent genetic signal in every population that descends from the humans who left Africa across Europe, Asia, the Americas, Oceania. The only thing that produces a signal this consistent is prolonged interbreeding. Across generations, across locations, the violence and the intimacy happened at the same time. The same populations shrinking Neanderthal territory, taking their prey, collapsing their numbers across an entire continent, were also, in those same generations, producing children with them. Some of those children survived. Some of those children had children of their own. 40,000 years later, those children are you. But the Neanderthals are not the only ones who left something behind. Modern Tibetans can live and work above 14,000 feet without the blood thickening that kills lowland populations at altitude. Rasmus Nielsen at UC Berkeley confirmed in 2014 that the gene responsible, a variant of EPAS1, did not evolve in Homo sapiens. It came from Denisovans, the species whose entire physical record is a handful of fragments from a single Siberian cave passed a single gene to our ancestors before they disappeared. That gene now runs in millions of living people. Without it, the Tibetan Plateau, an area roughly the size of Western Europe, would be largely uninhabitable. We replaced them. We took their land, and then, without knowing it, we kept what was useful. Paabo won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2022 for this body of work. The prize was not for discovering that Neanderthals existed. It was for proving that the boundary between us and them was never clean, that the line between modern humans and the others was crossed often enough to reshape the genome of every non-African person on Earth. We did not simply outlast them, we absorbed them. And then we forgot they were ever there. The last Neanderthal, wherever and whenever they died, did not know they were the last. They woke up in a world that had been shrinking for generations. The forests held unfamiliar fires. The prey was already taken. The others in their group were gone, one by one over decades, until there were not enough left to find each other. And somewhere in Europe or Western Asia, between 40,000 and 39,000 years ago, one of them died. And there were no more. They had survived ice ages that buried continents. They had cared for their injured. They had buried their dead. They were not what you were taught to picture. They were just not us. And in the end, that was enough. They are not entirely gone. They are in your immune cells. They are in the EPAS1 gene running in millions of Tibetan lungs. They are in the DNA of every person who traces ancestry outside of Africa. Quiet, persistent, copied into every cell of your body since the moment you were conceived. You carry their code. You have never once thought about what it cost. And you never will, because we made sure of it. You are the only human species left. That didn't happen by accident.